Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. How's it going out there?
Good, you?
It's all right. Welcome in, welcome in. So for right now, I actually just want everybody to log into TypeRacer because, like I said, we're going to work on some in exchange for this professional advice or whatever, I need y'all to develop some professional type skills. So log into TypeRacer and we're going to start off with about 15 minutes of typing. I'll type along with y'all just so that I can see how your times are doing. So if y'all go to Google Classroom TypeRacer link that I posted the other day, that should still work. So go ahead and click that, the play.typeracer.com with the digits at the end. And come on in and we'll spend a little bit of time typing before we get on with our day. And then after that, after about 15 minutes of typing, I'm going to talk a little bit about gardening. I got in most of your resumes, so I'm going to start making edits. Oh, cool, everybody's already in. Okay, we'll just start. Oh boy, I'm going to try and type and talk at the same time, which is impossible. But I'm going to take a look at your resumes this weekend and give you feedback. And then I need y'all to take that feedback and clean your resume up and give me a good second draft. You have to take those edits into account and come up with a nice second draft of it. Of course, I'll make an assignment describing what I need you to do. And you will get full credit for the first draft as long as you turned in something. And you will get full credit for the second draft so long as you take into account some of the edits and clean up your resume based on it. And if you are going to go on and use this resume in order to apply for actual jobs, you can actually bounce it off me as many times as you want until you're happy with it. So that you can make sure that it's nice and clean and pretty and polished. And you know how I told y'all to keep the objective statement generic? If you ever use it to apply for a real job, but you want somebody to read the objective that you wrote that's specific to that job, I will also gladly read that and give you feedback on it before you apply. Cool, still have some people trickling in before we get going with the real stuff. Like I said, please just keep typing. It's a good skill to practice. You should all be able to type 100 words per minute. On this next race, I'm not going to talk and just see if I can do better.
Do we just join random races and then write our score?
No, you should go to Google Classroom and click the link that I posted.
Oh. Okay.
And as you type, make sure that you're using good form. It's the only way to get faster. You want to make sure that your index fingers are on home row. That is to say, your 2 index fingers sit on F and J when they're not in motion. And from there, you are reaching out to all other positions. I have 2 guests in my chat. Please make sure if you are on here typing that you make an account, log into your account, and have your account be recognizable for me, just so that I can track everybody's typing speed. Cool. It's looking pretty good out there, but like I said,
Mr. Rob,
yeah,
I started it on my phone, but it's not working properly. Is it better?
There's no point in playing on your phone. I don't need you to be good at typing on your phone. You need to be on a computer typing on a keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'll do that then.
The point of this is so that you can type quickly and you aren't writing essays on your phone, I hope.
Mr. Rob, sorry I'm late. How do I join the type racer again?
It's the link's in Google Classroom. Just click the link there. It says Type Racer, and it'll add you to my personal racetrack.
All right.
Hey, it's looking good out there. That's real fast, Sabrina. Keep it up. Oh, also, I mean, like I said, we're all stuck at home, right? So if you ever get bored, you can always hop on Type Racer without me if you want to get that typing speed up. I guarantee you it's a necessary skill to survive college because, you know, there's a big difference between typing 50 and 100 words per minute. It's the difference between spending an hour per page of an essay versus spending 30 minutes per page of an essay. The other thing that I'll point y'all at is this is kind of a fun typing game, but if you want a really fun typing game, man, there's this old typing game on Dreamcast called Typing of the Dead, where you're shooting zombies, but as the zombies walk towards you, they have words or sentences above their head, and to shoot at them, you have to type the words that appear above their head as quickly as you can. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to eBay a Dreamcast with a Dreamcast keyboard and a copy of that game, because that's an insane thing to do. That's the thing that I would do, right? However, on Steam, there is a HD remake of it called Typing of the Dead Reloaded. It's a really, really fun typing game if you happen to enjoy the task of typing.
Mr. Rob, it's frozen again.
That's fine. Just hit refresh. You'll like lose your progress on that race, but if it gets frozen, just hit refresh. It's, you know, kind of a clunky old website that I don't think has been updated in a long time. I just really enjoy it because it's free.
Mm.
Anyway, that'll be the last race that we'll run this morning. But like I said, instead of like doing a math warm up in the mornings, just because we're working on professional stuff right now, figure we might as well work on like the most fundamental professional skill. Is that okay? Okay, I'm gonna close the type racer window and ask everybody to like go back to the screen share. So those of y'all who are in AP Physics also, yesterday you heard me talk a little bit about gardening, right? Did I talk about gardening with AP Physics yesterday?
Yeah, with the beans.
Yeah, okay. Let me talk about that with this group real quick, just because, you know, so there's some people in this class who aren't in my AP Physics class also. In times like these, I think gardening is really important, especially if you have space. Just because, I don't know, have y'all been to the grocery stores recently?
Empty.
Yeah, the grocery stores are kind of a mess right now. So whatever you can produce at home will, you know, help. You too can create fresh vegetables without having to visit a grocery store. So let me give y'all some like general tips and tricks to get you started. And then if y'all have any questions about that stuff, I can answer those. I'm a pretty avid gardener, so if you have any specific questions, like you could always just email me and I'll answer those if I can. So right here in this container, I'm sprouting some beans by the paper towel method. And actually, if you saw this yesterday in AP Physics, or even further along. So those ones on tops aren't going anywhere, but down here, yesterday I only had one that was sprouting. But you'll notice all of these guys are now sprouting and beginning to stick to the paper towel. So this guy right here has a little stem coming out of him. These beans are called dragon's tongue beans. And when they're fully grown, they'll produce pods that are purple. And I think they taste a little bit better than a normal green bean. If y'all are interested in gardening, because you know we're going to be stuck at home for a long time, it's annoying to go to the grocery store. So gardening is a great hobby. It does two things. It keeps you busy and it produces some delicious food. Let me show y'all a little bit of my urban garden, because I don't live in the suburbs. We don't have a lawn, but despite that fact, I'm still producing a fairly significant amount of food on my balcony with the little bit of space I have. So in this first picture, wait, can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one here on the left is my like tiny bean farm. All of those are dragon's tongue beans that I sprouted last week. And I put a trellis up above them because plants that grow, like these crawling vine plants, beans and peas, they actually grow way faster if the little tendril grabs onto something. It like knows that it's grabbed something. And the moment it grabs onto that string, it'll start growing twice as fast. And then this one over here on the right, this little plant here is a pineapple. You can, if you have a pineapple at home, if you just twist that top off and put it in some water, it'll actually grow roots and become a pineapple plant. This one over here on the right is an avocado tree, or at least it's going to become an avocado tree. And the reason why I included this picture was the fact that even if you don't have pots, if you just have bags of soil, if you poke holes on one side and then slash the top open, you can just use the bag of soil as a planter itself for the entire growing season. I think it's a good strategy. And then in the second picture, or even more of my like balcony garden, this guy here on the left is a pea plant, and that pea plant was only like 5 or 6 days old when I took that picture. That's how quick those grow. And then the one here on the right is my jalapeno plant. It's like has a really woody stalk because it's about a year old, but it makes like 4 or 5 jalapenos a week as long as it stays wet and is fertilized. So, you know, at least we have no shortage of spicy stuff for our home cooking that we've been doing. If you have space and would like to get gardening, because like I said, you know, the grocery stores are a mess. This is a way that you can make a fresh food without having to go out. It's important to consider what growing region we're in. If you're going to look at like, hey, how do I grow specific plants? The information that you want to know is what zone you're in. And you'll notice that the United States has gardening zones 2 through 9. The number goes up as you get closer to the equator because it gets hotter and hotter. And as you head up north into Canada, there are regions 1 and 0 up there with different growing instructions. But here in sunny Los Angeles, we are somewhere between zone 8 and zone 9. I've had the most success growing according to zone 8, just because it's a little cooler on the east side than it is on the west side, though you might be growing in zone 9 depending on the average temperature of your house. That is to say that if you want to look up specific gardening instructions for how to prepare certain plants in your own garden, you want a zone 8 growing chart, and here's how you want to read these growing charts. Up at the top, it has the month, and you'll notice that every single one of the crops here gradiates from green to yellow to red on this chart. So you want to start seeds indoors the way that I am with my little paper towel method beans, just because when plants are young, they're most susceptible to pests and disease. So you want to make sure that you get them to a good solid sprout before you take them outside. Once they're sprouted, then you can take them outside and plant them. And for the entire time that they're red, they'll continue to be harvestable. And certain plants are continuously harvestable. So if you can get them grown, it'll actually, work out really well in terms of how much food they produce. For example, like when you buy lettuce at the grocery store, they always harvest the entire head. But if you are growing lettuce in the ground or some sort of similar plant that turns into a salad like arugula, chard, or spinach, you could just go and trim the leaves that you want, and then those leaves will regenerate, giving you effectively infinite salad ingredients, which last time I was at the grocery store, that was the thing they were sold out of, which is why I'm working on growing my own right now. Are there any questions on gardening? Do y'all have any specific questions that I could answer?
I used to have like my own garden, but my jalapeno plant never looked like that. And once like it all came out, like the plant just died. Like even though I would give it water.
It's really easy to overwater plants. Overwatering is just as dangerous as underwatering plants. The other thing that you have to consider is how much sunlight they're getting. So what position are they in the garden? Because certain plants want low light, so you should grow them in the shade. Some need full light, some need partial light. And fertilizer is also important, because if you put a fruit-bearing plant into dirt that has no nitrogen, they won't be able to produce. So it could be either the wrong amount of water, the wrong amount of fertilizer, or the wrong amount of sun. It's important to research the specific needs of a plant before you put it in a garden.
Oh, okay, because like both my tomato plant and the jalapeno one, once all of it came out and the leaves fell, like it just died. Like no, I would do the same thing I always did. Like it produced all its stuff and then it just died.
Oh, no, I mean, that's just plants. Like if you look at the plant chart that I have, they are harvestable for a while, but most crop-bearing plants, they just die after they've lived a certain amount, once they hit a specific time of year or a specific temperature. My pepper plants are capable of being annuals, but usually tomatoes, they just die at the end of the season and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It just depends on the plant.
Thank you.
Yeah. And hey, if y'all do any gardening, produce any food or whatever, take a picture and shoot it my way. Send me an email, because I want to put together a like a big social media post of all the gardening going on at home. Just because I think if more people were preparing their own vegetables, it would help in times like these. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get back to what we're talking about today. And so what are we talking about today, y'all? What was on the lesson plan for once we were done with resumes? Do y'all remember?
Interviews?
We're going to be doing that third, but before interviews, we have a second topic that we're going to talk about all today. Today we are talking about scholarships. Unlike most people in an academia or in a high school setting, I'm not saying all of you have to go to college, but if that's in the cards for you, you might as well get it done for as cheap as possible, just because whatever amount of education that you have to pay for with loans, the interest builds up very quickly and you end up paying more than you bargained for in order to secure your education. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to your education, you have your tuition, the amount of money, and it's back on Document Cam now, right?
No, it's still your due now.
Yeah, that's the Document Cam.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of the importance of scholarships, here's what's up. And then I'll give you all the resources and talk about the assignment that I want you to do. You could have a certain amount of tuition that you need to pay. So let me define a couple variables. I got T, which is equal to tuition. I got G, which is equal to grants. I have S, which is our number of scholarships. And I have L, which is loans. Which is red because, you know, they're the devil, they're evil, right? And so when it comes to your tuition, that's going to be based on whatever school you attend. Some schools are more expensive, some schools are less expensive, as you know. But when it comes to paying your tuition, you need to be able to summon enough money that not only can you pay your tuition, but if you are moving somewhere to go to school next school year, you'll also have to be paying rent. Last I checked, humans need to eat, right? So you'll also be purchasing food, coffee, concert tickets as young people do, or all that stuff costs money, right? It's all just money, 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 money. And so your tuition needs to be made up by the grants that you get by applying to FAFSA, your Cal Grant and federal grants if you're eligible for those, plus any scholarships that you can obtain, which are also free money. They're basically in the same category as grants. And if these two numbers, right, if G and S add up to any amount less than T, then to make up that difference in money, either you need to be paying that out of pocket, which is a huge bummer, right? Like some of y'all might have college funds, you may have money set aside for this. But if the amount of money that you have set aside to go to college doesn't cover it, that is where loans come into play. And who can tell me a little bit about student loans? What do y'all know about student loans?
That they screw you at least 10 years.
How long they take you to pay back depends on how big the loans are and how much money you end up making after college. But yeah, in general, any sort of debt will end up screwing you simply because it is going to cost more money to pay back than you borrowed, right? Like that is how those companies make a profit off of your need to borrow. And so our goal in finding scholarships, what I'm going to ask y'all to do is let's say that this number is fixed and this number is fixed. So those two things can't change. Whatever money you can summon in terms of scholarships is money that you therefore do not need to borrow. And so every single scholarship that you can locate, so long as it pays out any amount of money, right, it's actually worth more than that, because if it stops you from borrowing, it is going to stop you from having to pay back interest. And just so you know, you should think of it more or less in terms of a 2-to-1. If it takes 18 years to pay back a student loan, the amount of money that you probably will end up paying back on it is going to be double what you borrowed. You borrow $15,000 and pay it back over minimum payments, you will probably end up paying back double that amount. And so if you can save $1 in scholarships, $1 in a scholarship is actually worth $2 of value in the long run, because it is preventing you from paying back interest on those loans. And just a quick reminder that in terms of student loans, there is a simple equation that we can use in order to calculate how much interest you are going to owe on those loans. Does anybody remember from pre-cal, how do we calculate loan payments? What is that equation? A is equal to what?
Was it the compound interest?
It is the compound interest equation. So what do you have in terms of the compound interest equation?
No idea. I just remember that word.
No, that's good. And that's why it's important to know the vocab. So if you ever forget what the compound interest equation is, you could just Google that phrase and it'll come up. A is going to be equal to P multiplied by 1 plus R divided by N, then raised to the NT. And here are what these terms mean. And we'll be doing a math review of this once we have our scholarship homework assignment done. P is the principal, so that's the amount of money that you borrow. R, take a wild guess. What do you think R stands for? Y'all, it's really boring if I'm like just here alone talking to myself. Anybody take a guess what R is?
Tuition.
Rate.
Nope. Interest rate. N is how often it compounds. The compound frequency, and most loans compound monthly. So in most cases, N will be 12. And then T is just the amount of time that's passed. And so if you ever need to calculate how much money you owe at any given moment, this is the equation. And here's the problem with this equation. The amount of money that you pay back is always going to be equal to the amount of money that you borrowed, multiplied by some number that is bigger than 1. And the more time that goes on, the more money you end up owing in the long run. Once we get to talking about this equation again, we'll build this out in Desmos and try some different scenarios to see how much borrowing student loans converts to payments in the end. And so, no matter what, if you plan on going to school next year, I'm going to require everybody to apply to at least 5 scholarships and keep those scholarship, like basically once you hit confirm, right, the website will give you some sort of like confirmation notice. All I need y'all to do is apply to 5 scholarships, and once you get to that confirm page or once you turn it in, just show me something that proves that you did it. Because even if you're going to community college, man, it may be cheap in terms of tuition, but y'all know it isn't cheap.
Books.
Yo, books, yeah, man. This book was like $85 and it's like softback, you know? So even if you can grab like $1,000 scholarship, even one of those, man, it can pay for a lot of textbooks and school supplies. Or if you have a scholarship that's eligible for you to purchase like new technology, then you can totally treat yourself to a new laptop. Nonetheless, here are some websites that I'm going to ask y'all to use in order to research your own scholarships. And if there's any questions as we go along, you know, just hit it up. So here are the classic ones that y'all want to be using to search this stuff up. Bare minimum, scholarships.com, of course, it's in the name. And the most common one that counselors recommend is always fastweb.com. Fastweb.com is probably the best one. That's where I got most of my scholarships when I was in college. You go on there, you make an account, tell it about what you're doing, and they'll actually send you recommendations of what scholarships are there to be applied for. And it also has some internship opportunities that can convert to money. I would definitely check that out. Here's a really weird one. Do y'all know the website Chegg?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so Chegg is one of those websites that lots of people use to cheat their homework. It just has like answers and solutions on it. And despite the fact that people use Chegg mostly to do some kind of academic dishonesty, Chegg has a scholarship page. So it's chegg.com/scholarships. They also have a bunch of good scholarships index that you can apply for. The other one that I would like to recommend is called, capex.com. CapEx is another site that not only do they index scholarships and scholarship opportunities, they also have just a bunch of like general advising information on majors, colleges, ways to navigate college. It's all good stuff. So here's what I would like y'all to do. Like I said, simply apply to 5 scholarships. So you need 5 scholarship applications.
And then take screenshots of the confirmation after, right?
Yeah, whatever that is. So if it's like, hey, fill out this form and then turn that form in, and then it's like, congratulations, we've accepted your application. You could just crop that and then turn it into Google Classroom under the correct assignment. Or if it's one where you have to email somebody an application along with your resume and an essay, just send me copies of the resume that you used and the essay that you used. And I'm only going to require that y'all do 5 of them each, though, of course, smart money is do more than 5. I'm literally giving you class credit to do something that's good for yourself. I'm literally giving you an assignment's worth of credit in order to save you and your parents a bunch of money. You're welcome.
So in total, we're only doing 5?
5 for me for this assignment, just because, if you're going to community college and that's all you're paying the next 2 years, that's probably all you need. And if you get 2 or 3 of them, that might be enough to pay for everything. But please do more than 5. When I was an undergrad, I was doing 10 or 15 every summer.
Wow.
Just because, like, the UCLA is expensive, man. And here's the other thing that I would recommend. When you are going through these, they'll all take you through the same advice, like, hey, fill out information about yourself. The more specific to your identity group you are, the more opportunities you will likely be able to locate. For example, and this has nothing to do with anything, but let me go ahead and screen share an example with you. That first website, scholarships.com, is pretty good. And oh, look at these very specific scholarship opportunities that are made available to us. Y'all see that browser window?
Yeah.
Yeah, so lots of scholarship websites will have ethnic scholarships broken down by categories. So be sure that when you make your own accounts, you are as specific as possible. Because, look, this first one, this first one, which wouldn't be for until next school year, $20,000 on the table. I wouldn't mind $20,000. And of course, if y'all get into this and any of them require that you write essays, feel free to bounce those essays off of me so I can help you with your drafts. Are there any questions about scholarships in general? No?
Not in general, but I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One, can you post the 3 links that you wrote down for the scholarship websites?
Yeah, so when I make the assignment, I'm gonna post all of those. Yeah, because I realize writing links out by hand is dumb. It's just that I'm like referring to a reference from my other computer, and it's not just like a separate screen, it's actually my other computer, it's my desktop. I will include all of those links along with a bunch of other resources when I put the assignment up as a thing in Google Classroom.
Perfect. And second question, when is it due?
It's going to take some time to do, and next week during class, for I think the first 3 days of the week, I'm just going to be doing one-on-one with you guys about your resumes and whatnot. So we have some time to do this, and especially for the ones that are like more difficult, the ones that involve essays, you'll need a little bit more time. So how does Wednesday sound? Do you think Wednesday might be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Wednesday, but if y'all need an extra day, we could very easily push it to Thursday. I'll start with Wednesday, and then we'll see how it's going next week. And the main reason why I'm going to probably hold it to Wednesday instead of Thursday is that y'all don't have school tomorrow because we have a all-staff meeting. Oh, other thing is that for those scholarships, for a bunch of them, you may need letters of recommendation, which is why I recommended the other day to right now make an employment folder in your Google Drive to hold on to all of your employment type paperworks. And a good thing to keep in there are letters of recommendation from teachers that you can just kind of have on file, ready to go. If y'all need letters of recommendation, like don't hesitate to reach out to the appropriate teachers who you would want those from. And it's always like good to give your teachers at least 2 weeks notice on that stuff. Now that we're all stuck at home, we have more time to do it. So maybe you don't need that much lead time, but it's always good to give your reference writers 2 weeks notice. Don't be like, hey, this deadline is tomorrow, please help. It's annoying. And whenever you ask for a letter of recommendation from a teacher or professor, make sure to be specific. So when you send the request, tell them why you want it so that we can put that in the to line. We're like, to the whatever scholarship fund. And also put a little bit of information about yourself in that request. So be sure to include like, hey, this is my GPA, this is my major, this is what I want to do, so that when we write those letters of recommendation for you, we can craft them and make them sound personal. It helps a lot when people receive and read them. Are there any other questions out there about scholarships or the scholarship assignment? Oh, I totally forgot. One other thing. And this is really big. Does anybody know, and you don't have to say it out loud, but just give me a yes or no. Does anybody know what school it is that they are going to?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
So just so y'all know, and this is like probably one of the biggest places where you can like start stacking paper. Every single one of the colleges that y'all are going to attend, they all have their own financial aid and scholarship website, along with their own financial aid and scholarship opportunities and information. So here's the UCLA one. Y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for UCLA financial aid and scholarships sub website, it has a breakdown of the cost of attendance and how you should expect to budget your cost of living, how much money you would have to have in order to attend there for 1 year. So, you know, these websites exist for all of the colleges that you may be attending next year so that you can get those numbers and be prepared for how much money that actually is. And if you look here on the left, right, they have links to various types of aid available, along with things that you can do on campus to help pay for your attendance. So this has information here about grants, state grants, university grants, various merit-based scholarships, which can be located under scholarships over here. And you'll notice that they have all of these different types of on-campus scholarships that you can apply for that have different amounts of money associated with each one of them. Did y'all know that?
No.
Yeah, so you should actually, if you are in the situation that you know where you're going next year, you should start here. Like, don't go to scholarships.com, don't go to FastWeb. Go straight to the scholarship page for your college so that, one, you can know how much money you're going to need per year. And number two, you can look at specific on-campus scholarships. Those should be the ones that you prioritize first. That's like probably the most guaranteed money. The other thing that is available on college campuses while you're there to help you pay for all of this stuff are work-study programs where you get some sort of part-time job on campus, and that money goes directly to your tuition. Those are cool jobs because they can help you avoid having to pay certain types of tax. And I'm not talking about like legal tax avoidance. I'm saying like the way that they classify you as an employee makes it so that because the money is being given to you as a scholarship, it's not going to be taxed as income. So when you when you go to a college campus, if you are willing to work in the dining hall and serve food or prepare food, or you're willing to do other types of on-campus labor, that money is more valuable than having another type of part-time job, like just working at Starbucks or whatever off campus, simply because the tax situation tends to be more preferable. Work study is really great if you can get it. Are there any other questions out there?
Yeah, I got a quick one.
Yeah.
So I'm on scholarships.com right now, just looking, and it's
Yep.
saying grade point average on a 4-point scale. So it's saying unweighted, right?
That is unweighted. All this stuff is always unweighted. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Can we use other websites other than the ones you gave?
Please do, yeah. And actually, on top of making the assignment and then listing the links that I want y'all to start with, I'm also going to make a thread in Google Classroom that just says scholarship resources. So if you come across any good ones that you don't mind sharing, you can post them there so that everybody has access to them in case you find some good scholarships of any type, especially ethnicity specific ones that you'll find yourselves applying to.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, just let me take a quick survey. I'm sorry if this is boring. Is this stuff that y'all have had gone over before, or is this good or is this useless?
No, it's pretty good.
Okay, I don't want to like do this if it's a waste of time, like if y'all already secured all your funding. But like I said, even the little scholarships that seem dinky, man, keep in mind $1,000 scholarship may only be $1,000 up front, but it's going to save you $2,000 in the long run paying it back, man. Take a lesson from us millennials. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Just know that there's no class tomorrow since it was a planned all staff meeting anyway. I'm going to post the resources that you need to do the scholarship assignment along with the hard and fast details of it. Like I said, you're just doing 5 scholarship applications for yourself. Give me proof that you did those 5. And that's going to look different for all of y'all. And on top of that, I'm going to make a thread where you can share your resources with each other. And then next week, instead of doing like big Zoom meeting with everybody, I'm going to do one-on-ones with everybody so that we can talk about your guys' resumes, how they currently look, and we can talk about your scholarship situation for next year. So if y'all need specific advice, I can help you with that. Like I said, I'm not like a trained counselor or whatever. So if y'all want really specific information, I would always, email Mr. Marmer. But I am somebody who like paid for college himself. And so what I'm teaching y'all is like just from my personal experience. And I found that a lot of people don't apply to enough scholarships or they apply too late, which is why we're doing it now. Any last minute questions out there? No, Mr. Rob, there's no question. Okay, great class. Y'all have a nice weekend and I'll see you on Monday.
You too.
You too.
Later.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.